In this lesson, we'll grasp a general understanding of working with 3ds Max's Motion Mixer. The Motion Mixer is 3ds Max's solution for working with animations in the form of clips, non-linearly and non-destructively. Non-linearly meaning that with those clips, we're going to be able to blend with multiple animation clips and really create some fascinating outcomes. And non-destructively meaning that we can edit those clips however we'd like and even trim those clips, and it will not hurt our original animation. So let's understand how this all works. We're currently working with the cycle that we have worked on in a previous lesson. Okay, and I'm also working with the cycle in its baked form where we have extracted keyframes. Alright, so once we have just our keyframe data here, with our selected object, we can now save out an animation file to import into the mixer. So I'll go to File, go down to Save Animation. We can go ahead and give this a name. We can call this Starship Idle. And at the top here, you see some settings you can use. You can even check on segments and just export a certain section of your animation rather than all of it as a whole. But I'm going to go ahead and save out the entire thing. Just choose Save Motion. And also note where it's going to save in your directory, specifically Scene Assets Animations. So that's where all of your animation files and even map files would be stored. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this out. And now we can basically open up the Motion Mixer under the Graph Editor's menu, Motion Mixer. So here it is. And I'd just like to actually start by saying this is a great tool for blending between biped animations. They even have a nice tool for keeping the biped's foot planted throughout different blends, different transitions. But let's go ahead and learn how we can use this for Max objects, as that is a different topic. Being that this is a Max object that we'd like to import, what we need to do is go to our Add Max Object menu, right underneath the Mix menu. Clicking that, we can now choose this object to add. So we'll just go ahead and choose the starship. And we see it load up within the mixer. Now, also notice this. We cannot see our animation any longer, nor can we move our object as it has been tied to the mixer. So to add our animation to this, we'd first want to select our track. Notice it highlights. Then we can right click and go to New Clips from Files. I'll go ahead and load up the Starship Idle, load motion, and there we have it. So we can use this this purple time cursor to actually scrub our animation. Alright, so there it is. Now let's go ahead and understand a few things we can do within the Motion Mixer. First off, let's say if we wanted to change the color of our clip. We can first select our object within the mixer and go to the Mix menu and choose Track Color. So now we can choose any color that we like. What we can also do if we like is to basically slide the clip so it happens later in time. So notice if we were to go to the selection range here at the top, as we scrub, we won't see any animation until we get to frame 41 and on. We also have the ability to scale our clip, which will modify the timing of it. So if we scale our clip to be a little bit longer, that's going to lead to a slower animation. Alright, I'll go ahead and undo that back. Now what we also see to our left is basically the ability to mute our clips. That's what the M stands for, and solo the clip. So if you were working with several clips, you can use solo to just focus on one specific animation. To our right, we see the ability to adjust the weight of a clip. So the weight would basically allow us to blend between different clips. You see that with this turned on, it highlights red. And as we bring our cursor over this red line now that appears, that is black by default, meaning that we can't edit it, we can see that we can add different weight keys to this. So I'll go ahead and click one, and then we can basically drag one down So if we were to go to just bring our cursor over it, and right now we can only slide it because of the slide weight horizontal being checked on. But if we like to move it wherever we like, we can go ahead and choose this little icon here. And now we can move it wherever we like to modify the weight, and we can see how it updates in its weight field. Alright, and we're going to discuss how to blend between different clips actually in the next lesson. But let's say if we wanted to delete a weight key, we could simply select it after we've brought our cursor over it and choose delete on our keyboard. Now what we can also do is trim our clips. So let's say if we didn't want the entire animation, just part of it. We'd first, with the clip selected, want to turn on trim clips. And then we can go to either side of the clip to trim. I'll go to the start. And I'll go ahead and just trim off a few frames here. So now we won't see any animation until after frame 21. So everything has been trimmed until frame 21 and on. And this gray area tells us how much has been trimmed. What's nice is that we can always bring that back. And notice as we move this, at the top we see our offset as well as the frame that our trim will basically rest on. So I've just brought it back to frame 1, meaning that we'll be able to see the full clip now. We could also work with our clip's timing using time warps. So to add a time warp, with the clip selected, we'll go to Clips, Add Time Warp. Now that that's been applied, we can go to Edit Time Warp, and notice we'll see these bars and spacing. I'll go ahead and scroll in. So this even spacing tells us that our animation is currently playing at its normal speed. But if we like, we can add a time warp bar anywhere we like. And even though this looks like one bar once we have clicked, okay, after we see our cursor change, this is actually made up of 2 bars. One at the bottom is our original time, and the one at the top is actually what we'd use to scale our time. So notice if we drag the bar from the top, watch what's going to happen to the animation. It's actually going to play back a little bit slower until it passes that first bar. Okay, so that's what actually warps our time, and we can add multiple time warps to our animations. Okay, so here's how it looks now, even slower. It speeds up a little bit more and then accelerates even faster. Alright, so that's how we can control the timing of our clips, and I'll just go ahead and undo that and turn off Edit Time Warp. So those are just a few tools we can use to work with our clips. Of course, if you like to delete a clip, you can right click and choose Delete. And if you'd like to load in a new source, you can go ahead and choose that from File. It brings you back to your animation folder. So if you had other animations that you'd like to apply, you can go ahead and choose those. But now that we have a general understanding of how the motion mixer works, what we're going to do in the next lesson is learn how to blend between different animation clips.